Good morning. Welcome to United First Parish Church. Whoever you are, whomever you love, wherever you are on your journey, welcome to our Unitarian Universalist spiritual community. It is good to be together this morning. As we gather, we acknowledge that we are on the traditional lands of the Neponset Band of the Massachusetts tribe, a people who have lived here for generations and who live here to this day. Whether you are from the Quincy area or further away, welcome. Whether you are joining us in person or by live stream, welcome. It is good to be together, heart to heart and screen to screen. And we are a community where folks who have been with us for years, decades, or this is your very first day, you are more than welcome to join us for service and social hour after the service. If this is one of your first times worshiping with us and you feel comfortable, I invite you to raise your hand up high so that we might welcome our newcomers. Welcome. Our greeters are going to make their way slowly to opposite sides of the sanctuary with a small welcome gift. And visitors, we do hope you will join us after the service. I'm the Reverend Rebecca Froom, lead minister here at United First Parish Church. My pronouns are she and her. Our worship team this morning includes our greeters and ushers, Sharon and Daphne, who are making their way around the sanctuary. Our live stream team behind the camera is Jordan and Elizabeth. We have Norman Corey here as our musician. And our worship leadership team includes Nan Moore, our director of family ministry. And we will be hearing her voice from Scotland throughout the service. And Peter Kovach from the Religious Education Committee is joining me as a worship leader today. Today is a multi-generational service, so families, your kids are welcome to be up here for the whole time. Our nursery will be open for babies and toddlers following the message for all ages. As always, families, we have coloring materials in the back. There's new coloring pages today, so check those out, folks who benefit from coloring during worship. And in this special service, in this multi-generational service, we'll be reflecting on loving kindness in a variety of ways, including in small groups briefly towards the end of the service. So all of our spiritual companions here get to be our worship leaders. And then after church, we are holding our Light Our Fire and Chocolate Celebration Luncheon Edition, returning for the first time, I believe, since 2020, right? With a variation on a theme. So folks can join us after the service for our chili cook-off and live bidding on yummy chocolate desserts for this fundraiser. And now I invite folks, as we prepare for worship, to take a deep breath and I invite Andrew to come and light the chalice, share a chalice lighting reading as we light the chalice, symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith tradition.
This reading is The Names of Love by Reverend Scott Taylor. We light this chalice in the names of love, the love of family that brings us into being, allows us to bloom, and then sends us on our way with courage, knowing we can return no matter what. The love of partnered hearts that teach us to trust and help us know that who we are does not end at the barrier of our own skin. The love of friends who help us feel seen and sing our song back to us when we cannot hear it with our ears alone. The love of community that bathes us in belonging and calls us to see the needs of others as our own. And the greatest love, the love that will not let us go, even in our fear, even in our failure, even when we are lonely or lost. Love invites us home. If we listen, it is doing so even today.
As love invites us home to this spiritual community, I invite you to rise in body or spirit and join in reading our congregation's words of covenant found in your order of service. As a free fellowship of this historic church, we unite to lift our hearts and open our minds to a larger reality, to accept, support, and encourage one another, to seek the wisdom in all religions, to cherish and sustain the web of life, and to strive for justice, compassion, and peace. On Sundays, in this spirit of fellowship, we take time to greet one another. So I invite you to turn to a companion, raise a hand in hello, or place a hand over your heart. And as we remain standing, let us lift our voices in song for hymn number 360, Here We Have Gathered. You may be seated. And I invite any children we have with us, perhaps their parents, our spirit circle staff and volunteers and any young at heart to come join Peter and I in these front rows to my right. Well, good morning, folks. I wonder what we have in the mystery basket. Andrew, do you think you could pick it up? It looks a little full. Yeah, like there's a lot of things in there because guess what, folks? Our story today, thank you, Omu, we're gonna need some help telling it, different roles of different characters represented in there. So I'm wondering let's just go down the line here. Why don't you look and see, Micah, is there anything? Oh, that's yours. That's right, says the preacher's kid. That is your ukulele. I wonder, Amen, do you think you could find, is there anything bright red in there? What is it? What is it? A car, a bright red toy car. Thank you, Micah, for sharing so many of your toys this morning. Okay, and I wonder, is there a grown-up that can grab this item? Actually, I'm thinking, let's see, what is that? You can wear it. What is it? It's a construction hat. Okay, what else do we have in here? Oh, I got another one for a child. What is this? It's a construction vest, or I was thinking maybe a crossing guard. Would you like to wear this for our story? That would be so helpful. Thank you. Okay, grown-up types and teenager types, we have a few more things. Why don't you reach in there, see what we have? A rolling pin for a baker. What are you gonna grab, Alex? A stethoscope for many people. We're gonna say a doctor for this story. Okay, Bonnie, would you help us out in this story? And then once you grab something and then stay close to the front, what do you have there? Some dancing shoes. Anyone else interested in coming up and helping to tell our story? We need 1, 2, 3 more people.
Maybe
2 more people. Aw, thanks, Lauren. What are you gonna find in there? Oh, a paintbrush. So you stay somewhere where you can come up pretty quick. And Sarah has, we're gonna give one of those to Andrew the lawyer, and Sarah the teacher. And right here we have, what's this one? What's this? We have a lot of them in the parish hall right now. It's a pot for cooking soup and stew. So this is a story by Oge Mora, and it says, thank you, Omu. And Omu is a word that means queen in her language from Nigeria, and it's a word that she used to talk about her grandmother. So this story is inspired by the author's grandmother, who we're gonna call Omu. Peter, will you help us with this story?
On the corner of First Street and Long Street, on the very top floor, Omu was cooking a thick red stew in a big fat pot for a nice evening meal. She seasoned and stirred it and took a small taste.
What a delicious stew. Tonight's dinner will surely be the best I have ever had.
And with that, Omu put down her spoon and went to read a book before supper. As the thick red stew simmered on the stove, its scrumptious scent wafted out the window and out the door, down the hall, toward the street, and around the block, until someone was at the door. When Omu opened it, she saw a little boy with a bright red car
Come on.
Anybody that has a bright red car?
Come on up here. With a bright red toy car. Oh, little boy, what brings you to my home?
He said, I was playing with my race car down the hall when I smelled the most delicious smell. What is it?
Thick red stew.
Stew, he sighed. That sure sounds yummy. Omu thought for a moment. She was saving her stew for dinner, but she had made quite a bit. It would not hurt to share.
Would you like some?
The little boy nodded, and so Omu spooned out some thick red stew from the big fat pot for her nice evening meal. Thank you, Omu, the little boy said, and went on his way. With that, Omu closed the door and went back to her book. As she read, her thick red stew's scrumptious scent wafted out the window and out the door, down the hall, toward the street, and around the block some more until someone was at the door. When Omu opened it, this time she saw a construction worker.
Great. 2 construction workers. Oh, construction workers, what brings you to my home?
I was finishing my shift down the street when I smelled the most delicious smell, the construction worker replied. What is it?
Thick red stew.
Ah, stew, the construction worker said, and their mouths watered. That sounds mighty tasty. Omu thought for a moment. There was still enough to share.
Would you like some?
The construction workers nodded. Once again, Omu spooned out some thick red stew from the big fat pot for her nice evening meal. Thank you, Omu, the construction workers said, and went on their way. And for the second time, Omu closed her door and then went back to her book. Sure enough, as she read, her thick red stew's scrumptious scent wafted out the window, out the door, down the hall, toward the street, and around the block, until, again, someone was at the door. This time, when she opened it, she saw a musician.
Mr. Musician, what brings you to my home?
I was playing my ukulele down the block when I smelled the most delicious smell, they replied. What is it?
Thick red stew.
Ooh, stew. The musician licked their lips. That sounds quite delectable. So Omu spooned out some thick red stew from the big fat pot for her nice evening meal. Thank you, Omu, the musician said, and went on their way. Throughout the day, people from all across the neighborhood knocked on Omu's door. She fed a crossing guard. A doctor. A dancer. A lawyer. A baker. An artist, and a teacher. Soon the day darkened, the streetlights brightened, and it was finally time for some dinner. But when Omu opened her big fat pot of thick red stew for her nice evening meal, it was empty. Omu sniffled.
There goes the best dinner I would have ever had.
So sorry and blue, she sat at the table with her empty pot. Until... what could that be, Omu wondered. When she opened her door, she saw a little boy with a red car, a construction worker with a hat and a vest, the musician, the doctor, the lawyer, the dancer, the artist, the baker, and the crossing guard, the teacher. Everyone she fed today was at her door.
I'm sorry, everyone. My thick red stew is all gone. I have nothing to share.
The little boy tugged at Omu's sleeve. Don't worry, Omu. We're not here to ask. We're here to give. The construction worker carried in a fresh salad. The lawyer entered with a roast chicken. The baker brought a collection of sweet goodies. Even the little boy presented Omu something special, a card and a shiny red envelope. Everyone who knocked on Omu's door that day squeezed inside her tiny apartment, and together they ate, danced, and celebrated while Omu's big fat pot of thick red stew was empty. Her heart was full of happiness and love. That dinner was the best she had ever had.
Well, thank you to Peter and our whole community for helping tell this story about sharing kindness. Yes, yes. Well done, team. Well done. Now, we're going to invite everyone who's 3 or older to stay in the sanctuary. Again, there's coloring materials. And for our babies and toddlers, we're going to open the nursery now. So folks, babies and toddlers are welcome to go with our nursery carers downstairs. And I invite everyone, as we transition, to sing together From You I Receive to You I Give, which is actually number 402, not 42, 402, demonstrating my humanity with that typo. So from you I receive, to you I give. Total. From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live. Through the sharing of our joys and our sorrows, we create a sacred space where we are deeply present with ourselves and with one another. This is a time for us to briefly share the life milestones that lift our spirits in joy or hope, or those pains and losses that fill us with heartache. If you have a joy or a sorrow to share in a moment, I invite you to come forward to this microphone, speak your name, and then share your joy or your sorrow. Knowing we have different bodies, if you'd prefer for us to bring the microphone to you, you can raise your hand and share, and we'll bring you the microphone. As we begin our sharing, we light a candle of joy, knowing that a joy shared is a joy magnified. And also we light a candle of sorrow, knowing that a sorrow shared is a burden lightened. Let us open our hearts to one another. As we end our sharing, we light a final candle. It's already lit. The candle for those joys and our sorrows that are always in our heart, that candle, proverbially, is always lit. So may the light of these candles and the compassion of this community remind us that wherever we are on our journey, each of us is worthy of love, and each of us is able to love. Let's take a deep breath together. Feeling that spirit of life, that spirit of love that moves within, between, and beyond us all. Let's take a deep breath in, perhaps roll our shoulders back, wiggle our fingers or our toes, find a new center in our body as we enter a time of shared multi-generational city silence. And kids, I'm going to ring the bell, and I want you to listen. This bell lasts for a long time. And when you can't hear the sound anymore, even a little bit, kids, I want you to raise your hand up high, okay? Yeah. Here we go into the silence. The 21st century silence. And today I invite us, as we lift our hearts and open our spirits to the language of reverence and contemplation and faith most meaningful to you, we're going to share in a practice of meditation as we do from time to time. This is from the Buddhist tradition, and it means loving kindness. And this is often what I am doing during our silence, the way that I'm going to lead it today. Meditation is about sending loving kindness in lots of different levels of relationship and direction, always starting with ourselves and ending with all beings. So I invite folks to take a deep breath in, let it out, center on yourself for a moment, and you can repeat after me out loud or in silence. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be peaceful and at ease. May I be whole. Breathe in, breathe out. And I invite you to focus your consciousness on a spiritual companion here in this very room, perhaps someone who shared in joys and sorrows, or another kindred spirit in this space. And repeat after me aloud or in your heart, may you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be peaceful and at ease. May you be whole. And now I want you to think of someone who's not here in this sanctuary. Maybe someone who is in need of some healing or some celebration. And think about that person and repeat after me or in your heart, may they be filled with loving kindness. May they be well. May they be peaceful and at ease. May they be whole. And now I want you to think of our UFPC church community in its widest sense. Those who are here today or Zooming or traveling, those who have been with us in previous years, and are separated from us by distance or death. Think of all the beloved spiritual companions who are and have been part of this congregation, and repeat after me aloud or in your heart. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be peaceful and at ease. May we be whole. And finally, we open our attention and our hearts to all beings, to the global level, holding in our hearts the people of Turkey and Syria devastated by this week's earthquake, holding with compassion all the people near and far who are suffering in body or mind or spirit, and say in your heart or aloud, may all beings be filled with loving kindness. May all beings be well. May all beings be peaceful and at ease. May all beings be well, whole. Amen. And I'm going to invite folks to rise in body or spirit to sing There Is a Love. The words are in your order of service. We've been singing it on and off for a month or so, so hopefully it has settled into some folks' voices and hearts. So rise in body or spirit. Norman's going to play the intro, and then we'll go right into it. There is a love holding me. There is a love holding all that I love. There is a love holding all. I rest in this love. There is a love holding us. There is a love holding all that I love. There is a love holding all. I rest in this love. Thank you. Please be seated.
The idea of loving kindness first came to me when I was on a Buddhist retreat in 1998, hearing an ancient Tibetan Buddhist blessing. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be peaceful and at ease. May you be happy. I believe the seeds of loving kindness are the seeds we water in the relationship we have with ourselves. What does that mean to practice loving kindness for ourselves? This is how I practice. I share a meal with my family or friends, and I'm able to feel the love in the food. I'm kind to my body and spirit as I take long walks in the forest, appreciating all the beauty around me. In the summertime, I go for a swim in the sea and feel the elements of earth, air, water, heat, and fire, as I care and refresh for myself in the present moment. When I slow down, rest in the quiet, and renew my spirit in an environment of love and peace, that is the kindest thing I can do for myself. Therefore, once I experience loving kindness to myself, I am more able to share this beautiful energy of loving kindness with others. When I was made aware of the love theme back in the fall, what came to my mind immediately was my thought: in American culture, we often say, "I love you" freely, but we rarely share the reference. In some languages, the love of what the person is talking about has much more description. How might our relationships change if we created a loving kindness practice with those we love that was specific to why we loved someone, such as, "I love you because you treat me with kindness. I love you because you are generous. What I love about you is how kindly you treat your family and friends. I love you because you listen to me and you respect my opinions. I love you because you inspire me. I love and appreciate you as a talented, creative artist and musician." Do you feel that difference with more language? To say "I love you" maybe is just not enough. When we deliver the specific message of what we love, the spiritual meaning has so much more depth to how we connect with sincerity. We may be able to get closer to one another heart to heart when we practice loving kindness in this way. We are so fortunate to be a part of a faith community because it provides us with clear spiritual direction of belonging, feeling connected, having meaning making, generosity, creativity, aliveness, and most of all, loving kindness. The expansion of kindness begins within and goes beyond our church walls as we practice our spiritual values out in the community of Quincy. I really appreciate the song "Where is the Love" by the Black Eyed Peas, as it speaks to an important message. Take control of your mind and meditate. Let your soul gravitate to the love, y'all. Take control of your mind and meditate. Let your soul gravitate to the love, y'all. This is our call to the spiritual practice of loving kindness. Move away from just thinking about love and embody loving kindness within. Once you're able to listen to the still voice within, there is connection to your inner world, which might be named as your soul world. In the depth of quieting the mind and touching the soul self, this is the place where we find the love, y'all. Within first, and then out to others. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be peaceful and at ease. May you be happy. Loving kindness is an experience. And this morning you were invited to recall a time in your life when you received a gift of loving kindness. For some, it may be difficult to access the feeling of love depending on your life experience. But pause for a moment. Remember a time when kindness from another came to visit you. The question is, when was a time in your life when you received a gift of loving kindness? I invite you to see the question in your order of service and contemplate on this question during the time of musical reflection as we now listen to What Wondrous Love.
When was a time that kindness visited you? I think back to June 2020 when I went on my first solo backpacking trip. I would spend 4 days in northern Massachusetts. My first day, I hiked just a few miles into a tent site at the top of a small mountain. And there was another backpacker there already preparing his dinner at the picnic table. And it was our first pandemic summer, so I set up at the far end of the picnic table to make my meal. We very kindly did not offer to share. A different form of loving kindness than on previous trips. We talked, which is itself a gift. He shared that this was his very first backpacking trip, and so we bonded as newcomers. In the morning, we awoke to the longest day of the year. We woke up early, we broke camp, and before we left, I asked my fellow hiker if I could borrow his bug spray. See, in an attempt to keep my pack weight down, I had chosen not to pack bug spray, and the first 4 miles had told me how deeply I regretted that choice. So he handed me his bug spray and said, "You keep it. I'm headed home today, and you'll be out on the trail for a few more days. You'll need it more than me." So I thanked him, and we headed on our way, chatting for a couple hours until our paths literally parted ways. And I used that bug spray again and again and again over the next few times, each time feeling grateful for this gift, not only of protection from insects, both annoying and dangerous. I was grateful also for the gift of loving kindness that came with this bug spray, this sense of encouragement and support and affirmation from a kindred spirit on his first backpacking trip. The gift of the bug spray seemed to also say, sometimes the trail might be rough, but you got this. Go hike some mountains. Ask Peter to share a time when loving kindness came to visit him, and then we'll hear from Nan again.
So as many of you know, I work as a teacher in Boston Public Schools, and commuting into Boston can be a little tricky at times. Last year, driving in, our school is located near Franklin Park at the top of Blue Hill Ave on the Dorchester-Roxbury line. And in the mornings, on Fridays, I oftentimes would stop at Bruger Bagel in East Milton Square and bring in a bag of bagels for my advisory group, which is a group of students that I would meet with 4 days a week after lunch, and encourage them in their academic pursuits, help guide them towards the extra help they may need. But it was a chance to bond with students outside of the normal class structure. So on Fridays, I would bring in a bag of bagels, and students would enjoy them, and it was a chance for us to just more casually enjoy each other's company. On this particular Friday morning, I was running late, and I was a little bit hectic trying to get myself together in the morning, and got to Bruger Bagel with enough time to get the bagels and get to school on time. However, at checkout, I realized I didn't have a form of payment. And so I said, oh, no, let me run to the bank. My card, that's what it was, my card wasn't working. Let me run to the bank and see if I can get some cash. And sure enough, when I got to the bank, the card still wasn't working. And I thought, all right, so I've ordered these bagels. There's probably a line of people that have been caught up by this mishap. So I went back to Bruger Bagel, my tail between my legs, thinking, all right, I'm going to have to ask you to put the bagels back. The cream cheese is all warmed up now, too. Wasn't a big deal. But when I got there and the woman saw the look on my face, she smiled and she said, "These are all paid for." And I thought, that's pretty cool. So I took the bagels to school that morning, distributed them as normal, and, it really was a surprise because I wasn't expecting this. But somebody who I didn't know had seen me in this predicament. They didn't know I was in really, other than the fact that I didn't have the money. And they thought, let me just pay this guy's bagels and send him on his way. And it's not often that, that I see that kind of gesture, but it certainly lasted in my heart for a while. And that idea of paying it forward is a really beautiful one. So that's my story.
The situation that immediately comes up for me is a time when I was in the hospital in 2019 and I was waiting to have surgery. The week that I was in the hospital before my surgery, I had conversations with many people that I was in a close, loving relationship with. I could actually feel the loving kindness and prayers that were coming to me through me. I spoke to a friend after my surgery and said, it was the strangest feeling. It was like I was sitting in a web of love and light. What she said to me changed my life. She said, now you know what the higher consciousness is. You just experienced it, and it is love.
Dear ones, when was a time in your life when you received a gift of loving kindness? We wanted you to share those with one another here in the sanctuary, but not wanting to rush that sharing or our afternoon's events, I leave that as a prompt for you for conversations this week. Perhaps as soon as our chili cook-off, or in a conversation with a friend or a loved one this week, when was a time that you received the gift of loving kindness? As one of our opening hymns said, from you I receive, to you I give. Together we love, and from this we live. Friends on the journey, let us open our hearts to accept and note and remember the gifts of loving kindness when they come to us, so that our spirit might be filled, so that we might be reminded of the love and kindness that flows through the interdependent web of life. And may we learn to give loving kindness as well, knowing that sometimes it is the wise words of a friend or the kind act of a stranger that can bring loving kindness into someone's day. May it be so. And I invite folks to rise in body or spirit and join in singing hymn number 95, There Is More Love Somewhere. This is what we call a zipper song, which means that only one word changes verse to verse. We're going to sing the first three verses, love, hope, and peace. We'll leave the joy for in the chili cook-off. We know we have that coming. So after you pick up the tune, feel free to put the hymnal down and just sing along. There is more love. be seated.
We drink from wells we did not dig, and we worship in a sanctuary we did not build. As a volunteer association, our church is sustained through the gifts of members and friends of our congregation. UFPC matters to me as it is a community united by the goodwill of all present and by a set of common values. It matters to me because it's a quiet, peaceful place to be present, a place to listen, and a place to be heard. UFPC provides a space for families, young and old, to come together, to learn, to explore, and to engage in life's great mystery. And it's also a chance to uphold a liberal faith tradition. So you can give online at ufpc.org and clicking on the donate button. If it's your first time worshiping with us, please let the offering plate pass you by. Your presence today is a gift to us, and we do hope you'll join us afterwards in the social hour for our Light Our Fire Luncheon. May the ushers please come forward for the morning offering to support the good works of UFPC. May it be with joy given, and know that with joy it will be received.
Thank you, Norman. Here at United First Parish Church, we gather in many ways, in many spaces in the building, here in worship and throughout the property for our ongoing programs, which you can read about in the order of service, all the things that happen weekly and monthly, and also some of our special events, which include Save the Date 2 weeks from now, February 26th. We're holding a congregational meeting after church with a few updates and as a reflection opportunity to look at the mission and vision statement that we crafted together in 2016. And then the special event that's happening right now is our Light Our Fire chili luncheon, chili cook-off luncheon, and chocolate celebration is happening after the service. So once folks get in and gather, we'll welcome folks again in the parish hall. Marie Louise has quite the setup for the chili. So again, that will be in the parish hall. And now let's return to that deep breath of love and life. And I invite you to rise as you are willing and able, and place your hand over your heart for our words of benediction. Words attributed to John Murray, an ancestor from our Universalist heritage. Go out into the highways and the byways. Give the people something of your new vision. You may possess a small light, but uncover it, let it shine. Use it in order to bring more light and understanding to the hearts and minds of men and women. Give them not hell, but hope and courage. Preach the kindness and everlasting love of God. May we go in peace and go in love to be a blessing to the world. And I invite you to turn towards the center aisle and offer one another a shared benediction as we sing our chalice extinguishing song. Blessed be.